All right, we have a little time for questions. Did anyone save a good question? Right there in the back. The question is, are we giving our innate love of things cute? Are we loving them to death?
Yeah, it's absolutely an issue. I mean, there's a lot of controversy in the bird world about people sharing the locations of owls, because it really does disturb their daily lives, and it takes energy. You know, the idea of like calling in an owl, which a lot of people do either through playback with a tape recorder or you know, using their own voices. It often brings in the owl, but that's because they're territorial. It's also very disruptive to their lives, and they're using precious energy for that. And there are places in the world where you know, owls are actually they're, because of their symbolic value, they're loved, but they're also killed for the same reason. And you know, they people will put you know, in India, for instance, during Diwali, a lot of owls are killed, and it's because they represent wealth, and people think that if they put a dead owl in their house, that the goddess of wealth will come and visit them. It's definitely a problem in you know, in a lot of different ways in different places, and I think that, you know, the thing above all is just you know, with the love has to come respect, and you know, and honoring the wild lives of these animals, because you know, and it's a balance. You know, it's also thrilling for people to see a wild owl, and it does change their life, and they do then come to care and about them, and to, you know, contribute to efforts to save them. So, you know, we have to figure this out still, but it's a really good question. Yeah.
You even mentioned owl cafes in Japan.
Oh yeah,
and
I mean,
Harry Potter owl.
Yeah, that's right. So there are these owl cafes, like there are cat cafes in Japan, where they have captive owls, and people come in and you know, that hang around them and touch them, and the people that know and understand owls can see the body language of these owls, so that they're just terrified. It's so stressful for them. And yeah, the Harry Potter effect, I call it in the book, was also profound, unfortunately. And in a lot of the bird markets, pet markets in Indonesia, for instance, before Harry Potter, there were no owls found in those bird markets. Now there are, you know, 50, 60 species that are sold as pets. So it's yeah, another example of destructive loving.
The question is about dead voles in a naturalized field, and whether that's owl practicing or...
That I have no idea. That's a really, really interesting observation. I mean, I guess it could be, you know, young owls that are, you know, sort of learning how to hunt and hold on to their prey, and not yet very good at it. But I don't know. It's a really, really interesting thing. I've never heard that before. So
are they in a circle?
Yeah. Probably the latter.
Question is owl talk. How well are we at interpreting the owl talk?
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, those hooting from the, you know, a distant, it's probably territorial calls. That would be my guess. But there are also mate contact calls. I mean, there are calls that owls make to stay in touch with their mates. But my guess is that that's probably, you know, two males establishing their territorial boundaries.
You had a memory game or something that you talked about, and I wondered how good you are at owl talk.
Now this is a game that you were supposed to listen to the individual calls of little owls. That's actually a species, European species. And you're supposed to be able to match them And there were maybe 10 different versions of this call, and I just failed miserably time and again on this game. And it just made me realize what a gift it is that these owls have, that they can hear the differences. And also that there are some of the researchers that I write about in the book. There's a musician, wonderful Dutch woman who studies Eurasian eagle owl vocalizations, and she was trained as a professional musician, and she uses her musical ear to distinguish the individual calls of these birds, and it's really quite remarkable the skill with which she can do that. Yeah, I don't have it at all.
And they're doing it at night, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
The question is about destruction of ducks in a way that you'll have to talk to him about. But
well,
was that the
like
owl?
One of the ducks was disemboweled, just the breast opened up. Oh, just the breast opened. Oh, wow. So that's very unusual. I mean, that could have been a great horn, but I don't know. Usually they eat what they take. But I have heard stories of great horned owl perched over chicken coops, and they will kill some chickens. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Again, really interesting observation, and somewhat tragic. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. Well,
the question was whether a white owl he saw while tossing silage was a snowy owl, or what it would be.
Yeah. So the ones that you saw were females, and they have a lot more brown in them. So what you saw was a male snowy owl, and the snowy owls in the Harry Potter movies were all males, all male owl actors, because the females are bigger and they're browner and they don't look as nice against those black wizardly robes. So they trained males. But yeah, the males are a little smaller and they're very white, almost luminescent white.
Do owls return to their nesting areas?
Yeah, if they have find a good spot and they're successful at raising young, they will return to the same sites. Yeah. Sometimes year after year after year.
Is that why it's important to monitor where those nests are?
Oh, absolutely. And, sometimes they are way, way, way up in trees, and they're very hard to find. As I point out in the book, it takes a lot of looking, and sometimes those trees come down before, we know that there's an owl nest there. But, yeah, the monitoring is really important.
A lot of variety in their migration and unknowns about that?
Yeah, tremendous variety. I memean, some owls don't migrate at all. Others migrate very fast. And flammulated owls, for instance, are, they're very rapid. Have a very rapid migration, and then northern saw-whet owls are much more they just wind their way. We're just beginning to learn this kind of thing, though. I mean, it's really new information, and because owls are so difficult to monitor, and the ones that you can put a transmitter on a snowy owl, but you can't put a transmitter on a tiny northern saw-whet owl. So you have to do some banding and some other kinds of studies, and those, we've learned a lot, but we still have a long way to go. Yeah.
There were many chapters about migration in the book.
Well, there's one chapter, but it's many, many stories. Yeah.
Many stories. I know we've kind of gone a little bit over. We kind of tend to stick to our hour in PR. So anything you want to leave us with as far as even what we can do?
Thank you. That's a great question. And the thing that I tell people is, first of all, to support the research organizations, conservation organizations, places like the Wildlife Center of Virginia that are, rehabilitating these animals, and, the Owl Research Institute, places that are doing such important research. But also, everybody has some habitat in their, around their house. And, if you're lucky enough to really have some land, I really encourage people to create as much kind of native habitat as they can for owls, because they will nest in if you leave a dead snag there, it's not threatening the house. They will nest, and don't mow your yards. Leave them as meadows, so that they create habitat for the creatures that owls eat. Also, big one, please don't use rodenticides, because they are really deadly for owls, and the owls will take the rodents. There's lots more in the book about what you. I learned not to throw my apple core out the window, because that will draw a rodent to the road, which will draw an owl to the road, and you do not want that. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways that we can each do our part.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
I'm so appreciative of Seven Arrows for hosting us. We love this space. Thank you so much.
Yeah, beautiful.
So let's leave it with birds. Thank you so much. Give her a hand.
My
Books
pleasure.
are over there. She'll be here to sign any copies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.